said, Miss Merman's leaving that show? I'm in another flop. I had 13.
In 1974, Jack Cassidy shocked his Los Angeles neighbors by calmly watering his lawn completely naked. To the public, Cassidy was a sophisticated Broadway star, singer, actor, Tony Award winner, Grammy winner, and Emmy nominee who seemed to have everything: fame, money, a beautiful wife, and a talented family. But behind the polished image, his private life was becoming increasingly unstable. His moods changed, his behavior grew unpredictable, and his marriage collapsed. Just 2 years after his divorce, Cassidy's life ended tragically. His final night began with drinks and a cigarette inside his Hollywood penthouse. By morning, the apartment was engulfed in flames, and Cassidy was dead. Long before Jack Cassidy became a Broadway star, he was John Joseph Edward Cassidy, a young boy growing up in Richmond Hill, Queens. Born on March 5, 1927, he was the youngest of 5 children in an Irish-German family. His father, William Cassidy, worked as a Long Island Railroad engineer, while his mother, Charlotte, had immigrated to America from Hamburg, Germany. The family did not live the glamorous life Jack would eventually become known for. Like many children growing up during the Depression era, young Cassidy learned early that life required hard work. He took whatever jobs he could find. He worked as a bellhop, counterman, dishwasher, chauffeur, clothing salesman, postal clerk, hotel clerk, and stable boy. But beneath those ordinary jobs was an extraordinary ambition. Jack wanted to perform. His opportunity came through his uncle, Ben Dova, a former vaudeville contortionist. Dova recognized something special in the young Cassidy and helped arrange auditions for him. By 15, Jack's passion for entertainment had become stronger than his interest in school. He left school and began concentrating on his voice. Under voice coach Paulie Robertson, Cassidy developed the powerful baritone that would eventually become one of his greatest professional weapons. At just 16, he landed his first Broadway job. It wasn't a starring role. He joined the chorus of Cole Porter's Something for the Boys. But for Jack Cassidy, simply being on Broadway was enough. He had found his world, and he intended to conquer it. During the 1940s, Cassidy steadily built his career. He appeared in productions including Sadie Thompson, Around the World, and Music in My Heart. He wasn't an overnight sensation. Instead, he climbed the ladder one production at a time. Every appearance brought more experience. Every performance brought more attention. Then came an important turning point. While performing in The Firebrand of Florence, Cassidy met actress and dancer Evelyn Ward. The two developed a powerful connection, and in 1948 they married. Their son David was born several years later. For a time, Jack seemed to have everything a young performer could want. He had a family, he had Broadway, and his career was gaining momentum. By 1952, he had joined the cast of South Pacific, taking the role of Richard West. That same year, he landed a leading role in Wish You Were Here. As Chick Miller, Cassidy demonstrated that he could command an audience. Critics noticed, Broadway noticed, and soon Jack Cassidy was no longer just another performer waiting for his opportunity. He was becoming a star. Then came Sandhog, a story about Irish immigrants building New York tunnels. For Cassidy, the material had a personal connection. His performance earned strong reviews and revealed a more emotional side of the actor. But while his professional life was rising, his personal life was about to change forever. In 1955, Cassidy traveled overseas as part of a State Department tour of Oklahoma. He played Curly, and during that tour he met Shirley Jones. The two performers immediately developed chemistry. What began professionally soon became personal. Cassidy was married, Jones was his co-star, but the attraction became impossible to ignore. Eventually, Cassidy divorced Evelyn Ward. In 1956, during a production of The Beggar's Opera, he proposed to Shirley Jones. She accepted. On August 5, 1956, Jack Cassidy and Shirley Jones were married. They quickly became one of Broadway's most famous couples. To the public, they looked almost perfect. Jack and Shirley built a growing family. Their son Sean was born in 1958, and Patrick followed several years later. Sean would eventually become a major teen idol, while Patrick also pursued entertainment. The Cassidy name was becoming a show business dynasty, and Jack himself seemed unstoppable. He continued appearing in major Broadway productions including Shangri-La and Wonderful Town. He traveled internationally and expanded his work beyond the stage. In 1962, he voiced Bob Cratchit in Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, an important early animated television special. But Broadway remained his greatest strength. Then, in 1963, came She Loves Me. Cassidy played Stephen Kodaly, and the performance became one of the high points of his career. He received a Tony Award and a Grammy for the show's cast album. Now he wasn't merely successful, he was Broadway royalty, and the public image was almost irresistible. A talented performer, a handsome leading man, a successful husband, a father, a decorated entertainer. Everything seemed to be working, but the image of Jack Cassidy was only part of the story. Behind the curtain, things were becoming increasingly complicated. Cassidy refused to remain confined to one stage. He moved into television and film, proving that his talent was much broader than Broadway. In Fade Out, Fade In, he demonstrated his comic abilities. In It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman, he played the villainous Max Menken. His performance earned another Tony nomination. Then came television. In the CBS sitcom He and She, Cassidy played Oscar North, a pompous, exaggerated character that allowed him to parody the larger-than-life personalities he had often portrayed. He even earned an Emmy nomination. Hollywood had discovered what Broadway already knew. Jack Cassidy could steal a scene. Then came one of his most famous television appearances. In 1970, Cassidy appeared in Columbo, Murder by the Book. He played murderer Ken Franklin. The episode was directed by a young Steven Spielberg. Cassidy's performance became memorable, and his ability to play arrogant, charming villains became one of his trademarks. He returned to Columbo again in 1974 and once more in 1976. He also appeared in films and television dramas, including The Andersonville Trial. By the mid-1970s, Cassidy had created a unique screen persona: confident, elegant, arrogant, charming, dangerous. He could make arrogance entertaining, but while audiences were watching Jack Cassidy play complicated characters, his real life was becoming increasingly complicated too. By the middle of the 1970s, Cassidy's behavior had become increasingly erratic. According to accounts later described by his family, his moods could change dramatically. He struggled with alcohol. Doctors diagnosed him with bipolar disorder. For the people closest to him, this was not simply a celebrity problem. It was their husband, their father, their family. In 1974, the situation became impossible to ignore. One afternoon, Cassidy walked outside his Los Angeles home completely naked and began watering his lawn. The bizarre incident shocked neighbors, but it was only one of several troubling episodes. Shirley Jones later described finding Cassidy sitting quietly in a corner reading a book while completely naked. On another occasion, during a manic episode, Jones attempted to convince him to prepare for a performance. Instead, Cassidy calmly told her that he believed he was Christ. For Jones, the moment was terrifying. She realized that whatever was happening to her husband was far beyond something she could handle alone. Eventually, Cassidy was admitted to a psychiatric facility for 2 days. It was around this period that Jones learned the full extent of his bipolar diagnosis. The marriage that had once seemed like Broadway royalty was now under enormous pressure. By May 1975, Jack Cassidy and Shirley Jones decided to go their separate ways. Their divorce marked the end of one of entertainment's most famous marriages, but it did not end Cassidy's career. He continued working. Even while Cassidy's personal life was deteriorating, another part of his story remained largely hidden. For years, there had been rumors and whispers about his private relationships, but much of what the public eventually learned came only after his death. His son David Cassidy later wrote about his father and described the unpredictable behavior that had affected the family. Then came a much more intimate revelation. David said that Jack Cassidy had been bisexual. The revelation changed how some people viewed the legendary performer. It wasn't simply another Hollywood rumor. It was information coming from inside the family. Shirley Jones also addressed Cassidy's romantic life in her 2013 memoir. She confirmed that he had numerous affairs. According to the account, Cassidy had relationships with both men and women. One of the most striking allegations involved composer Cole Porter. Cassidy had worked around the world of Broadway, while Porter was one of the giants of American musical theater. The alleged relationship was especially shocking because of their age difference and the secrecy surrounding Cassidy's private life. Jones later explained that she had known about Cassidy's relationships. She understood that his romantic life was more complicated than the public image suggested, yet she also maintained that he loved women. For the family, these revelations offered another piece of the puzzle. Jack Cassidy had spent his life performing characters, but his own identity contained contradictions that he rarely revealed publicly. The man audiences thought they knew was only part of the story, and perhaps that was why the revelations felt so powerful. The truth wasn't about one secret. It was about how little the public could ever truly know about someone living behind the spotlight. After his divorce from Shirley Jones, Cassidy lived alone in a Hollywood penthouse. It was a remarkable home, occupying the entire top floor of the building and surrounded by balconies overlooking the city. From there, Jack Cassidy could look out over the world that had made him famous. But fame could not protect him from loneliness. On December 11th, 1976, Cassidy called Shirley Jones. He invited her over for drinks. Jones declined. At the time, she had no way of knowing that the decision would stay with her for the rest of her life. That evening, Cassidy went to an Italian restaurant. Later, he went bar hopping around West Hollywood. Eventually, he returned to his penthouse. He was alone, and he had been drinking. At some point, Cassidy settled onto his couch and lit a cigarette. The combination of alcohol and exhaustion proved fatal. Cassidy fell asleep. The cigarette slipped from his hand, then the couch caught fire. The flames spread rapidly. By early morning, the penthouse had become an inferno. Deputy Sheriff John Diateo arrived and helped evacuate the other residents, but one person was missing, Jack Cassidy. Authorities discovered a badly burned body near the doorway, yet there was confusion because Cassidy's car was missing. Friends and family initially hoped that perhaps he had left for Palm Springs, where he had reportedly been planning to go, but eventually authorities learned that someone else had borrowed his car. The possibility everyone feared became reality. The body was Cassidy's. His identity was confirmed through dental records and a distinctive gold signet ring engraved with the Cassidy family crest. Jack Cassidy was dead. He was only 49 years old. Jack Cassidy's death was horrifyingly sudden. A man who had spent decades beneath stage lights ended his life alone inside a burning Hollywood apartment. There was no final curtain call, no standing ovation, and no chance to say goodbye. Yet his story continued through the family he left behind. His sons carried the Cassidy name into entertainment. David Cassidy became one of the biggest teen idols of his generation, while Sean Cassidy achieved major success as an actor and singer. Patrick Cassidy also pursued acting and music, continuing the family's connection to show business. But Jack's legacy was complicated. He had been brilliant, charismatic, ambitious, and enormously successful. He had also struggled with alcohol, unstable behavior, mental health problems, and a private life that remained hidden from much of the public. His story cannot be reduced to either image. He was neither simply the sophisticated Broadway star nor merely the troubled celebrity revealed during his final years. He was both. From a working-class childhood in Queens, Cassidy fought his way onto Broadway, became a leading man, won major awards, conquered television, and became famous for playing unforgettable villains. Yet behind the performances, he was fighting battles no audience could see. The shocking incidents of his final years revealed the growing distance between appearance and reality. Hollywood had created an image of confidence and perfection, but the man behind that image was far more complicated. Jack Cassidy died at 49, leaving behind extraordinary performances, a famous family, and unanswered questions. His ashes were scattered into the Pacific Ocean. His final chapter was written in flames, but his legacy remains, a gifted performer, a complicated man, and a reminder that behind every great performance is a human being the audience may never truly know.
Behind the legend was a man the world never truly knew.